A Portuguese artist with a background in architecture, Pedro Alves always loved creating characters and sketching what was going on around him. His art version of the wax on, wax off approach set him up for ongoing artistic growth and keeps on helping him overcome struggles in a very creative way. Join us today as we talk about how to make a sketch look detailed without adding any details, on location versus drawing from photos and how to combine the two, why we need good sketchbooks, how art brought life to a dead Portuguese commerce area, and tips on successfully combining ink with watercolor. Want to be part of the show? Then send in your questions or topics you'd like to see covered to our email at hello@etralab.com. If you send us an audio recording, we might include it in the episode. Hi, I'm Anya, and this is Make More Art, a podcast by Etcher, meant to inspire you to keep on creating. Now let's hear from our guest. Pedro, you're the second Pedro and the second Portuguese person we have at the podcast. Disclaimer, no, not all men in Portugal are called Pedro, just some of the outstanding ones. So before we create the connection between you and the other Pedro that we had in the podcast, Pedro Loreiro, who's also a teacher with us, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where do you come from? What's your background?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Pedro Alves. Not always. No, you don't have to be called Pedro to sketch, but I'm an architect as well. I live in Torres Vedras, which is a small town a bit north, in the western coast of Portugal, north of Lisbon. So I was raised in Lisbon, but my whole family lives here. So it was a natural move to do, like to be here in Torres Vedras as well. I work as an architect, as I said, now mostly specified in illustration. So I do work along with the architects and their teams to create some sketches for the clients to visualize in the early stages of our projects. And that's it. I've been drawing and sketching for the past, I don't know, since I remember. And I always said as a kid, I wanted to be an architect so I can sketch. So here, achievement unlocked.
Wait, so since you were a little boy, you knew you wanted to be an architect?
Yeah, because in Portugal, the public opinion states that if you are an architect, you know how to sketch, which we know it's not often the truth, but it helps a great deal if you are an architect and you know how to sketch. Since I was a little boy, I was like, I love to sketch, I love to draw everything. And I want to become an architect because architects draw. And that's what I wanted to do.
Because that's the obvious choice. I mean, if you do want to make art as a living, you have to be an architect. So that's where you came from. Okay.
Exactly.
So it was art first, architecture as a means to being able to draw professionally, right?
Well, architecture, yeah, at first it was the thought. I wanted to be an architect because I wanted to pursue this career, and it started to grow on me. Like as I delved into architecture school and knowing my colleagues and teachers, very good teachers, I just realized that it started to grow on me. Especially the urban environments. I just love cities, and I just love to get lost in the streets, and the natural way for me to get that info out of a city, out of a place when you travel, especially when you travel, is to get a sketchbook and just go for it and sketch whatever is in front of you, what you are feeling, eating, everything. I mean, that's the way.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, well, first, obviously, you do love your streets because if we hop onto your Instagram profile, that's almost all that we see, and it's beautiful. And I do have a few art related questions for you, of course, in just a few moments. But So what came first? I know that architecture grew on you as you got to know it better, yet
Yeah.
the love for sketching was always there. Did you love sketching places already, and then architecture slowly but surely became a part of it naturally? Or was it like you loved art and then you went into architecture, and as you got used to it, this kind of urban sketching became a part of it? So which way?
Yeah, sort of. I love to sketch art, not art. I had a few references as I
Mm-hmm.
was growing up. Some artists that I really love. I
Such
really love
as?
Picasso. Still now, Picasso. I think is my major, my greatest all time inspiration. I just love his career, from his perfect sketches to the later art. It was an amazing. And then manga and anime and Dragon Ball mostly. I draw because I just love to see my cartoons and my anime. So, and then Dragon Ball, you have this thing on me, like I have to sketch. I have to sketch all these characters. I have to sketch and I have to draw, and that's how it started. It started drawing my favorite characters at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I chose, well, let's pursue an artistic career and see where this is going. And then finally, when I got to architectural school, I had this wonderful teacher that really taught us how to sketch
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, like dot 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 dot, line, then all those things that allows us to evolve. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like Karate Kid, like wax on, wax off, and you
I
don't know
love
what
it.
the hell you are doing, and then suddenly, oh, I know something. This is working, and that's it. I was starting dots. I remember doing this Picasso painting only with dots. It took me, I don't know, months to do that, and then at the end, okay, I can draw. It's starting to I started to get to know what he's talking about, and I'm okay. This is it. This is the way. And
Oh wow.
then, yeah, it came, obviously, my it was started as an obligation. We need to have a sketchbook. What we call the graphic, the diary, our diary. We
Mm-hmm.
need to have that, and we were obliged to
Me too.
draw every day into that sketchbook every day, and every week we have to show our teacher some drawings that we were made, and he would tell us if the drawings were made on location or
Mm-hmm.
by photo. It
Mm-hmm.
was completely out of his mind every time. This is from photo. You don't do this by photo. You have to go there to the place and sketch. And then that's when this passion for drawing on location and drawing all the things that I was carrying a sketchbook. I was going to my friends to a bar. I just sketching. It's like an obsession. And well, it all started about 20 years ago, maybe. So
Wow.
when I first started architecture school, and it stood and stick.
Okay, one question, one observation. First, I love that you were the person at the bar with your friends. Everyone's drinking and you're like sipping and sketching and sipping and sketching.
And drinking as well, of course.
Sipping. Because come on,
Exactly.
no wobbly lines allowed. I'm kidding. So yeah, I was the same. I'm like, well, are you drawing at the bar? I mean, is there enough light? I'm like, just look at the light there over the bar and all those people. Like, this is great for sketching. So thank you for not making me feel weird. Um, you're talking about the difference between sketching on location versus sketching from a photo. So,
Mhm.
did I infer accurately that your teacher was of the opinion that you always had to go on location and no sketches from photos allowed? Was that it?
Well, at first I didn't know. Well, we had to be on location because now I get it. What he was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier for us. It's hard at the beginning, but it's easier for us to get the proportions and to get and especially the feel of being there, being in the place. And then a sketch made on location has this layer of info that you don't see in a final sketch. This layer of info is how the weather was like, if it was cold, if it was hot, was there people walking around, did they talk to you, what you were talking about. There's this layer of information on the sketches made on location that it's not shown in the final, but that you know. And as you flip to the pages of the sketchbook, and you recall it, I know exactly what was going on all around me while I was doing this sketch. And that is the layer of information that he wanted us to have, because you couldn't do that by a photo. And also photos have this distorted feel back because of the lens, and as soon as as a sketch turns into like this 3-point perspective that often you get when you take a photo, it's like, no, this is photo, you should be there on location. And yeah, you can see the difference.
Could your professor or teacher see the difference when you sketched on location versus from a photo? Could they tell?
Most of the times, yes. I learned how to control that, because sometimes I couldn't be there. So I had to sketch by photo. So what do I often do? I don't think I ever tell this to anyone. So
Oh, confession.
well, let's go. Tips and tricks of the trade. So what happens is, when you take a photo, especially if you're down here taking a photo to a huge monument or something, you can see the vertical lines are going to start converging into a 3-point perspective up there in the sky. And what I do is I took that photo and I just straightened the verticals. So as you can feel that you were on the spot and not copying like directly under a photo. So if you get your verticals straight in a 2-point perspective sketch, it's easier to trick and to, no, teacher, I was there.
The grade was given. No changes are allowed. Overruled. Oh my
Sometimes,
gosh. But
sometimes
that's
you have.
amazing. So that's a great tip for anyone. I mean, we're still going through a pandemic, and we don't have as much freedom to go outside as we want to, though it's hopefully getting better. So that's actually a great tip, to sketch from photo and make it look like we were there. Okay,
Yeah.
question. This is a very random question. So let's imagine that you've been on that location and you took the photo and you got back home. So you remember parts of how it felt to be there. Because, of course, well, I'm not trying. So that's one. So you remember how it felt to be there, but now you're sketching from the photo at home. So you can kind of emulate, it's easier for you to emulate that feeling because you were there than if you're sketching from a photo of a place that you've never been.
Yeah.
Now, is there still a difference? So in other words, my question is, you kind of were there, but you didn't sketch there. So what are the main difference between sketching on location in this scenario?
Well, it happens because, for instance, I had this happens all the time. I started sketching, like I drew like one line, and then someone calls me, "Oh, you need to come right away." So I need to finish whatever I'm doing, took a photo, and then if I really like that location, I start at home and sketching whatever I photo. I think the main difference is because I've been there, I took the photo, but all the elements that are not, for instance, if you take sketching a church, for instance, all the elements around it, like people, cars, the busyness of the street, it stays frozen in that photo. What happens is, when we are sketching on location, those people go walking by, and you may sketch them or not. You don't have to sketch everything. So people going by, and sometimes the same people goes in front of you like 3 or 4 times. So what happens in the sketch is like I'm drawing the same people all over again, because it's the same guy going there, I sketch. Then he goes here and I sketch. And sometimes it happens, it's the same guys, the same people, it's the same car, for instance. In a photo, if you get a parked car next to you're going to be compelled to draw it. And you know why? Because you can't, on location, you can go up past the car. Oh, I don't want to draw this car. So I'm going to move to a bit aside. Let's see how it is. Okay, I draw and I go back to my place. On a photo, you can't. The car is there. So you have to draw it.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of the thing. We choose the elements that we draw, especially if you are on the spot. And Eduardo Salaviso said, and I will always remember this word. He made a drawing from a coastal area, and he draws. He did like 3 or 4 seagulls, And he was explaining, it's all the same. It's the same bird. But he got there, he drew it, then he got there, and he drew it. It's the same seagull, but it appears in 4 different stages.
Wow.
So sketching is like a bit like stopping time or something like that. It's like sketching time. And this only works if you're sketching on location. But I also sketch from photos. And we have to, especially like you said, during this pandemic, we are confined to our homes, and we need to keep pushing, we need to keep sketching. So yeah, it's valid, of course. Not for urban sketchers, though. If you ask how, it's different.
Okay, different how?
The urban sketchers. Well, I'm an urban sketcher since 2014. I was already an urban sketcher because our motto is to sketch on location, not from photo. It's exactly why I already talked about, because the feelings, the smells, the emotion of people. So we value these on location sketches. So on their platforms, you can only publish and you can only post sketches that you've done on location. So no photo sketches are allowed. Of course, we can use the photo to get some details. Again, it starts raining. Oh my God, I have to stop sketching and I go and complete it from home. But it's okay. But yeah, we should go out and sketch. That's the motto of the urban sketch.
In the middle of the whole thing that you just said, so when did you meet Pedro Loureiro, the other Portuguese Pedro, who's also an architect and who also draws for an architect company? When did you meet? How did that relationship develop?
Okay, it was a few years ago. I was working with an architect that we both know, and I started sketching on location on my sketchbooks. And he told me, his name was Mario. He said, "Oh, you should see the sketches from a friend of mine called Pedro as well." And our relation started online. I started to follow him, and he followed me, so we were chatting online until some 6 years ago. We went for this major workshop that Urban Sketches held here in Lisbon, and he was on one of the instructors. He invited, and I met him there. So it was really cool to finally meet him in person and to go, "Oh, give me your sketchbook, have mine." So exchange sketchbooks and to see. And I learned a great deal from him, especially how to draw people and how to draw the facial expressions. His background is more, he loves to sketch people and what's going on and the conversations and stuff. And I'm more into the urban scene. So it's very cool mix to get the urban scene and the people together, because that's what cities are for. And then the opportunity came when I was working at our actual company, and my CEO, he was like, "We need another sketcher. So do you know anyone?" And I just perfect. I just know the guy. So just phone Pedro. "Pedro, are you up to this?" And I said, "Okay." And I told my CEO, one thing. His name is Pedro. He goes, "Oh my God, Pedro, another Pedro." No worries. It's easier. So if you need a sketch, get a Pedro and done. So yeah, that's one of the things. If you come to our company to sketch, you need to be called Pedro as well.
So that's a hiring tip right here. Golden hiring tips on today's podcast.
So yeah, we've been working together for the last 5 years, and well, because our sketching style, especially on work, because we need to be more strict, we need to be more architects. It's almost indistinguishable from. So it's very cool too, because we can finish each other's jobs, and
that's so
and it
cool.
helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot. It helps a lot on the process, because we are always hands full, and sometimes we have to. Okay, that's your drawing. Okay, no worries. I'll keep going. I'll carry on with it. Oh, that's a drawing. And it's a very cool dynamic that we form here, work. Then outside of work as well, we started naturally to lecture some workshops and because since we have this cool dynamic between both of us during work, we get this cool dynamic as well outside of work, and we get more people to come into our workshops, and we teach, and I think it's benefit for the people, for our students, because they get to see two different point of view that matches and complements each other. So I think it's okay, and it's a good partnership, and he's a good friend as well.
Great. Okay, now talking about your sketches more specifically, as I was going through your work, I noticed, I mean, of course, you're an architect, so it does make sense. You have a very strong drawing foundation.
Yeah,
So you do the drawing in ink, and then you go and add color onto it after
exactly.
the drawing is made. My first question for you is, don't have you ever worried or feared ruining a really good sketch before applying the color?
All the time. It happens. It's all the time. Like I sketch for ages, and yeah, it still worries me sometimes. And that's why I draw with ink, because if I feel like no, I really like this sketch. I think this is a finished piece, and it's okay. Just leave it, and it stays as it is. But I also feel that I need to keep pushing myself. So I need to go that extra mile all the time. And if I ended up ruining the sketch, well, just do another one. Just flip the page and do another one. And it helps. It helps to have like a good sketchbook that it's not top tier, like the one sketchbook that you are so afraid to ruin, and not that sketchbook that it's really it's crap. So you need to have like a balance between quality and price to allows you and your mind to go, okay, I can ruin the sketch if I want. So that's what I often do. But yeah, I always keep pushing myself. I need to do this. So yeah, I'm afraid, but then well, sometimes the sketches are not what I was looking for, and sometimes I can be surprised too. Whoa, I made this. Whoa, not expecting that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I can
happens a
relate.
lot.
So, how do you, a few questions that I have from what you just said. First question is, how do you decide that if the sketch is great as is with ink and then you don't touch it and leave it, and when to actually dive in and try to go further and push the colors?
Well, I keep sketching as long as I'm learning from it and as long as I'm having fun. So if my sketch reaches a point that I'm not having fun and I'm not learning anything new from it, I just leave it and I just start another one in another place or in another point of view, something like that. We need to keep constantly keep we need to have fun. This is the key. We need to have fun. This is not a torture. Sketching is not a torture. And sometimes my students go, "Oh my God, this is so hard." Oh, come on, please. This is supposed to be fun. So have fun. And we need to learn, of course. And I still learn. Every sketch, every new sketch I start and I make, I'm constantly learning from it. So if in the middle of the sketch I'm not learning anything new, so I'm not doing anything new. So let's start another one. That's it.
Perfect. And when you start with the water, so I'm assuming it's mainly watercolor that
Yeah,
you do.
mostly. Mhm.
What is your process like? So you have a beautiful inked piece in front of you and you have to break it into color. How do you start?
Well, I learned this with lots of sketching. So when I know that I'm going to apply some colors, the info that I the info that I put with my ink, pen and ink, shouldn't be conflicting with the info I'm going to put in color. For instance, if I'm going to use shadows in color, I'm not going to use shadows in ink because it will be conflicting. So the two mediums should integrate naturally. So this is I start sketching my main outline, and then I was as long as I go sketching, I was saying, okay, the color will in here will be something like this. So I'm not going to saturate this with lines. Lots of detail on the tiles or on the door. I'm going to apply directly with color. So I'm not going to draw so many lines here. Here is going to stay blank without color. So I'll go in for an extra detail in ink. And that's this dialogue. And I'm thinking about the color as long at the moment I'm sketching. And that's it.
I've never seen anyone explain this so well as you just did. That, for me,
Thank you.
something really clicked. Wow. So that's what
Thank
I
you.
was doing wrong the other day. I'm like, why does the shadows look wrong? And I'm like, because you did shadows with ink and color, and that's why this is not working. Oh, that makes so much sense. Breakthrough moment for me. Sorry that you had to.
No, thank you for
This is awesome.
thanks.
And your color choices, first off, they're very varied. I see a bunch of analog palettes from you, meaning similar colors within the color palette, so blues and grays, different
Yeah.
kinds of blues or blues and purples, and sometimes I see complementary where you grab some yellows to push a little, to push some details forward. So my
Mhm.
question is, how do you decide what colors you're using for the piece? You just said you come up with the ideas while you're sketching. How does that work for you?
Okay, so I tend to on the color department and on the line department as well. People most say, "Oh, so many details on your line sketch," and I don't know. Actually, I think I have a very loose line, and the fact that I use that wiggle line, I think I just trick the eye of getting that detail on, but it's actually not. It's just a wiggly line going all through the sketch. And then the color, I try to be simple, very simple, and use only contrasting color. So yeah, the blues and the yellows, the orange and the violets are always present in my work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I often mix those colors just to get the overall image, the overall ambience. And what I usually do is, as soon as I finish a line sketch, I'm just going to this very watery base, big wash of yellow colors and some shadows here and there, and then let it dry, and then keep going with the shadows with complementary tones. So if the sun is very bright and the overall light in the image is very yellowish, my shadows will be this purple or blue to really stand out. And that's one of the things I always wanted to do with my sketching, is to capture light into a sketch. I don't care if it's the building may be red or green or blue. I don't care. I'm just going for the lights. If there's an element in the shadow, like casting this beautiful shadow on the floor, that's what I'm going for. I don't care about the real color of the elements. I just need to get this overall ambience of the light from an image. Of course, then there are some splashes of color that need to be accurate. If that building is green, yeah, then at the end, I just a little green just to get a bit more grounded and more relatable, but not much. It's green is often out of my palette, unless of course sketching trees. That I hate sketch trees. Just
Wait, before asking my next question, what? You hate sketching trees? How come?
I hate it, but
Too organic?
they are necessary. They are necessary elements. But I often avoid sketching the trees. Yeah, if there's like this street full of trees from each side of, no, I'm not going to sketch. This is going to be like a torture or pain. But I need to know how to sketch them. I cannot avoid them. They are a part of our lives and they are present in our landscape. So again, even if I hate sketching something, I need to know how to sketch it. So
I
yeah,
really love how you balance the sketch and paint and push yourself. An important thing is to have fun with, I really hate this part of the process, but it's really important for the piece to feel as a whole. So I have
yeah,
to go through this like
yeah,
personal hell in order to get this, because then I'm assuming at the end you get a way more satisfaction over the full piece because you went through that less
exactly.
pleasant. He was
Yeah,
like, it's for
exactly.
the main purpose. Okay, that does make sense. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing here is you think in line when doing the sketch, and when you
Mhm.
switch to color, it looks like your brain switches as well, and you're thinking in shapes.
Yeah. Well, the line is often it often started as a shape because
Huh.
I try to decompose the image that I'm watching at the time. So everything are shaped like cubes. There are squares, there are circles, and I'm try to basically I draw the overall shape first and then started to include the details. But then again, I only push the details into what make, for instance, I'm going to the street, I'm going to see something. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to take my sketchbook and start sketching that. That's whatever reason that gets me to take the sketchbook. That's going to be the detail piece, and everything else is just to frame the central piece. So all the lines, I start drawing the shapes, the basic shapes, add some details, but the special detail is going to be the focal point that we need to, and then the color as well. Just a wash in everything that goes around, and then the details on the wash, on the shadows, especially on the shadows, are going straight into the main piece of my sketch. Just the rest is just to fit.
That's another great tip. This interview is filled with golden tips. Just like whatever makes you, I keep getting mind blown. Like, awesome. Okay, wow, this is really great information. Thank you, Pedro. Okay, I'm changing gears a little bit now. One thing that really piqued my interest when I was going through your Instagram. So I saw you drawing. This was last November, so we're recording today. This is May 10th. This interview is coming out on May 17th. And this is a post I saw from November 2020, where we were all at home in the middle of the pandemic, and you were drawing on store windows.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Can you tell us?
It was an amazing surprise actually. It was a campaign to promote the the regional commerce, and there were lots and lots with the pandemic. Lots of the stores were closed in this process, so they went bankrupt and then they just closed. And then the city hall and some art companies here in Torres Vedras had this initiative to invite some talented urban sketchers, and then me to.
Oh, come on. Some talented urban sketchers. Proceed.
Yeah, because all of us that were in this project were involved somehow in other projects with the city hall, especially in this main events, sketching events that we used to have. So we were called upon just to, each one of us gets a store, a vacant store with the shop front, and then okay, so let's draw a piece in it. And I was honored to be a part of this, and I was really thankful to be a part of this. And I chose to honor one of the major personas here in Torres Vedras. It was the Maria Cachucha, that was very popular in the last century here. So I chose to mix this popular pop culture, tradition, and the motif, which was Christmas. So it was a really cool experience.
And how can you explain? Because I'm not entirely clear on how this art making was helping to promote the store. So was it because all the stores were painted, then they would go on social media and the news, and people would be aware of these stores? Was that it?
One of the main goals was we created like this route, like we had a map on the web that shows all the stores and all the different artists that were part of this project, and people could come here and make their shopping, and sometimes they go, oh, there's an art piece here, and we were painting and sketching it live, so people come by and say, well, what you're doing. They showed a great deal of interest in what you're doing. And I explained, this is the initiatives. Go and see the other shops, go and see the other artists that are up there sketching as well, because we almost did the sketches all in the same day. And in the span of 2 days, there are like 10 or 11, I think it was 11 artists in the city painting shop fronts. It's very cool.
And all those shops were closed because of the pandemic. I'm assuming they're open now because the rules in Portugal now allowed some stores to open.
Well, some I think, yeah, but most definitely not. Some of the stores were already closed before the pandemic. I know some of them closed as the pandemic hit because they were forced to be closed, and then unfortunately they stayed. But some of them they were already closed because of, in Portugal, the shopping centers everywhere, and this historic part of our cities become a bit empty, a bit vague, because, well, our shopping habits have changed, and then the city hall decided, well, let's try and reverse that. Let's bring more people to the street again to make their shopping, because it's more safe, and it's here. And
malls, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, way safer than malls. This is great. The reason I like this so much is because it beautifully illustrates the purpose of art and how art can bring such positive effect to our lives. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, I think it's the most simple way. It makes you smile. And if I go on the street and I see like this beautiful piece of art and this artist making some art, it makes me smile. It makes me it's a better day already, because wow, it really amazed me. And I think that's the point. I think this is very, very simple. This is the very basic emotion. Art, it's like an escapism, and we need to look at it. Oh, okay, I'm feeling better things now. I'm smiling, and I'm okay, cool. Glad that this happened to here, and as I was walking by right now, and this is why I think this is street art mostly, which is the case. It's very important to our lives, and just awareness as well. In this case, go make your shoppings on your local store instead of going all to the malls and stuff, because the malls are going to stay open once this pandemic ends. The malls will stay open, the big stores will stay open, but the small ones, they won't. So go
Support
there.
Local commerce. Yeah.
Exactly.
So art as food for the soul, and art as social, like a social messenger, kind of.
Yeah.
Pinging as our conscience in a very uplifting way. Okay, we're close to wrapping up this interview, but before we go, two things. First one, you're doing a live demo with us on May 25th, so next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the day that this podcast comes out. Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be doing on that day?
Well, it's this a bit to what we were talking about. It's like how to get an urban sketch like this. Well, this is a popular term now, because this how to get a simple perspective into your sketchbook without too much technique. It's like just simple tricks that the ones I explained to you. So and on a night scene as well, because to explain that we can go out at night and just sketch at night. We don't need to have sunlight and good weather to just go whatever the time of the day and sketch. Yeah, I'm going to make this easy perspective during night. So yeah, that's
wonderful. So this is for anyone who'd love to go out and do some sketching but has no idea how to start, and you'd rather go out after work hours, then this is definitely a great live demo to attend. Thank you. Before we wrap up, my last question to you. Any art tips, any advice, that's the word, any advice you'd like to give our audience before we go?
Well, it took me a while to discover the purpose of drawing in my life. But I think that's the key. We need to find, if you like drawing, we need to find how is that important. And then once you know the importance of sketching and drawing in your life, just don't stop. Just don't make excuses. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, it's too late. No, just don't. Just get 10, 15 minutes a day, get a sketchbook and just draw. Even if you don't color, just draw, and then draw a little more. Everything that goes on, and sketch everything that comes in front of you. If you're cooking, draw the stove and all the things and all the ingredients. If you are waiting for the bus, draw. If you're afraid of drawing trees or people like me, just go and draw. Just draw whatever comes to in front of you. That's how you're going to keep getting better and better and better. That's repetition. You'll get there. Guaranteed. It worked for me, works for everyone else I know. So it will work for everyone.
What is your favorite and least favorite subjects to draw? Please let us know in the comment section of the post associated with this episode at etrelab.com/alves. That's etchrlab.com/ALVES. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, simply let us know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying the podcast, please help us keep the show alive. You can subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts at etrelab.com/go/Apple. Or if you're more of a YouTube viewer, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our most recent videos. Sharing is caring and every little bit helps. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Until then, let's make more art. I think I can speak now. La 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 la, ping.